Today we're diving into one of the most powerful, most moving moments from the entire Shrimad Bhagavatam. And it's a story that isn't really about how to live, it's about how to die. It's about a man who knew nothing but suffering, a king who was completely broken by his own victory, and a final, profound lesson about what absolute devotion really looks like.
So these are the words that kick everything off. But here's the thing, they aren't spoken by someone complaining about their own fate. No, these words are spoken by a man who is literally lying on a bed of arrows, watching his life slip away. And he's weeping for someone else's pain. This is really the heart of the whole story.
Okay, so let's set the scene. The massive, world-altering war of Kurukshetra is finally over. King Yudhishthira and his brothers, the Pandavas, they've won. But this victory feels completely empty. The cost was just staggering. Family, friends, mentors, all gone. So instead of any kind of celebration, the new king is just haunted, completely crushed by the guilt of all the bloodshed.
To find some kind of peace, some answer that can quiet his soul, Yudhishthira knows there's only one person left he can possibly turn to, his grand uncle, the great warrior Bhishma, the very man who fought against them in the war, now lying on that same battlefield, waiting for his own end. And so, the king and his brothers journey back to that field of sorrow, desperate for wisdom. Just picture this scene for a second. This isn't some quiet, private deathbed. Bhishma is a living legend, and his final moments have basically drawn a celestial audience. We're talking about the greatest spiritual masters, the most powerful sages of the era, all gathered just to witness this one man's passing. It's an event of, cosmic importance. And this is where the story takes its first unbelievable turn. Yudhishthira comes forward, probably expecting to offer some comfort to his dying grandfather, but instead, it's Bhishma, the man impaled by hundreds of arrows, who starts to weep. Not from his own agony, but from this overwhelming surge of love and compassion he feels for the Pandavas and all the injustice they had to endure. Bhishma's tears really bring us to the absolute core question of this entire story, a question people have been asking forever. He looks at Yudhishthira, who is the very picture of dharma, of righteousness, and he just can't make it make sense. Why? Why do good people who do everything right, have to suffer so much? And this really lays out the contradiction, doesn't it? The Pandavas lived and breathed their duty. They were literally protected by Lord Krishna himself, who they saw as their best friend. And yet, what was their life? It was just one long story of hardship, exile, betrayal, and pain. It just doesn't add up. So Bhishma, in his incredible wisdom, he offers an answer. He introduces this concept, kala. Now, this isn't time like we think of it, seconds and minutes. Kala is something else entirely. It's the unseen, unstoppable will of the divine. It's the ultimate plan, this grand destiny that no one, not even the greatest sages, can ever fully figure out. So this is what Bhishma tells Yudhishthira. He says all of this suffering, all this injustice that feels so wrong, it isn't random. It's all part of a divine plan, arranged by Kala. He says it's like the whole world is being moved by this force, just like clouds are blown about by the wind. You can't control it. And then Bhishma delivers the final incredible twist. He doesn't just leave Kala as some big abstract idea. He looks into the crowd, points, and reveals that this ultimate cosmic force, this divine destiny, it has a face, it has a name, and it's standing right there with them in that very moment. And here you see the huge difference in how people can see the exact same thing. To the Pandavas, the person Bhishma is talking about is Krishna. Their cousin, their best friend, the guy who drove their chariot. They love him dearly, but they see him as a person. But Bhishma, with his dying sight, he sees the real truth. He sees the supreme person, the invisible force of Kala made visible. In this moment of pure revelation, everything changes. See, Bhishma had this amazing ability to choose the exact moment of his own death, and he'd been waiting for this specific, auspicious time. Now that he's given his answer to Yudhishthira, the time has finally come. He gets ready to give his last lesson, a lesson with no words at all. And it's amazing. Simply by fixing his mind on Krishna, the physical agony from all those arrow wounds just disappears. It's gone. He stops talking. All the lectures on duty and law are over. Now he's going to teach them, not with his words, but with the pure act of his consciousness as it leaves his body. And his final lesson, it's a prayer of pure, focused love. He starts by meditating on Krishna's divine form, that dark complexion, his bright yellow clothes that shine like the sun, his face framed by beautiful hair. He is locking that divine image into his mind with everything he has left.
But this prayer isn't just a list of praises. Bhishma's mind is traveling back in time, reliving these specific, powerful moments when he saw Krishna's true divine nature. He's actually using his own memories as the way to express his devotion, focusing his very last moments of life on these encounters. I mean, just listen to this incredible image. He doesn't remember Krishna as some peaceful, distant god. He remembers him right there in the grit and chaos of war, hair caked with dust, face dripping with sweat, and skin literally being pierced by the arrows that Bhishma himself was shooting. And he remembers this with love. This just shows that Bhishma's devotion wasn't for some god up in the clouds. It was for the divine being who came down and got into the messy, bloody chaos of human life, who drove a chariot, protected a friend, and who could end the lives of enemy soldiers with just a single glance. And this is the absolute climax of his memory. Krishna had promised he wouldn't fight in the war, but when he saw his devotee, Arjuna, about to be defeated by Bhishma, Krishna's love was so strong that it completely overrode his own promise. He jumped off the chariot, grabbed a wheel, and charged at Bhishma, ready to kill him. And to Bhishma, this wasn't an attack. It was the ultimate proof of love, God breaking his own rules for the sake of his devotee. Holding on to that final, powerful memory, Bhishma declares his ultimate victory. The illusion that he and the divine were ever two separate things, it's gone. He doesn't see himself as Bhishma the warrior or Krishna the opponent anymore. There's just one single reality, and he has become one with it. He focused his mind, his words, his sight, his entire being on that one single point. He breathed his last, and his soul just merged back into the infinite. And then there was only silence. He had achieved the perfect death. But that silence was broken almost immediately. On earth and in all the heavens, a celebration erupted. Drums began to beat, kings shouted praises, and flowers just rained down from the sky. The entire universe was acknowledging the triumph of this great soul's final journey. Which leaves us with this final thought, right? Bhishma's life was just filled with tragedy, with tough compromises, and so much pain. But his death was a masterclass in focus, devotion, and liberation. It really shows us that the quality of a life isn't just about what happens to you, but about where your consciousness is focused at the very, very end. So what does a story like this teach us about what it really means to die well?